Pretty stoked to be joined here today with Ardie Savea. He burst on the national scene in 2012 at just 18 years old when he made his provincial debut for Wellington. He's the younger brother of former All Blacks winger Julian Savea. He made his Super Rugby debut for the Hurricanes back in 2013, played for the New Zealand under-20s, and later that year he toured with the All Blacks on the Northern Tour as a non-playing apprentice. He finished the year winning the New Zealand Age Grade Award. And his leadership potential has been apparent for some time. He was head boy at Rongotai College, captain the first 15 side and the New Zealand school side, and his Wellington provincial side as well. In 2021, Savea was named as captain of the Hurricanes and led the All Blacks for the first time against Australia in Perth, becoming the All Blacks' 70th Test captain. He also captained the All Blacks in the historic 100th Test against the Springboks in Townsville. Away from rugby, he loves his fashion. He launched his own clothing company in 2017 and also dabbled in the podcasting world as well. Ardie, it's so good to be chatting with you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, brother. Thanks, Sam. Shucks, sounded like you know more about myself than I do.
Just straight off the All Blacks website, mate.
Oh, is it? Oh, nice. No, but I'm good, bro. Just got out of the 7-day quarantine here in New Zealand, and just doing the 3-day isolation. So got a few more days and then freedom.
I want to take you right back to high school. You know, as someone like myself who probably didn't realize like their full leadership potentials and even struggled to be myself for as an extent at high school. Personally, I sort of came into my own and grew up post high school and at university when I saw my sort of growth potential occur. Did those leadership capabilities come naturally to you at high school?
No, it's like I like to this day, bro. I don't enjoy talking. Like I don't like talking in front of people. I'd just rather be about it, go about my work, and just and get it done. In terms of speaking and getting up, I shit myself pretty much. And I was like that when I was young, and even in teams, I don't even know why. Like being made captain and stuff like that, because I wasn't saying I wasn't a good speaker, but I wasn't a dude that would speak a lot. But yeah, I for me, bro, like I think a lot of people saw leadership qualities in me before even I believed it in myself, if that makes sense. And it probably wasn't until like this year and last year that I really, really believed that I was an actual like leader and I could lead men on the rugby field. Previous years, I'd be made into those roles, but kind of never really, really believed it. Like I did, but like deep down, it's just a weird one, bro. Like obviously you think of a leader, they're good speakers, they can speak and do this. But bro, I was just the guy that would just go and do action and and do it that way. And probably that's probably why people wanted me to lead, because I led through action. But yeah, I didn't realize it and believe it kind of at a younger age until kind of a couple of years ago.
Do you think it was your childhood and your sort of school years that molded you into that leader? Was it the ability to sort of chat to different groups or have a wide range of interests or just be a people person? You say that you sort of wasn't didn't really come naturally for that self-belief, but do you believe that it was those formative years that really shaped you?
I guess you can, it played a part. I think it's just through my upbringing and how my parents raised us with the humility and being honorable and respectful, and then and then kind of just like our human nature around just being around people, and the Pacific Island nature of being around people and the togetherness. I had that, and I think just being around, like at college, being around all the boys, Poly Festival, Poly Club, First 15, you're around that, and you're around that camaraderie. So you know, in a way, yeah, I think it did shape and played a part in shaping me as a leader, as well as leaving school and part of that journey.
Talking about like high school footy and first 15 footy, for kids coming through now who are sort of 15, 16 years old, is it important in New Zealand for kids who want to take rugby seriously and maybe view it as a career to get picked up by one of the Super Rugby academies? Do you believe that that's the way it's going? And do you think that, like, if you are from, like, I'm from Invercargill, and if you are from like a smaller town, do you think that your talent still can shine through and you still get noticed, or do you think you need to go to like one of those four?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's a great question, bro. I reckon there's like pros and cons in terms of how it's happening right now. Like, um, in the past, I'd say like you could, like I still think that you could like stick at a small school and grind it out and still make it. But like the chances of that is like slim, like especially with television rights, with Sky, College First 15. Like you see more and more students going to those colleges that get air rights
right.
on because they're getting like showed to not only New Zealand but the world, and they can pick up contracts easily.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas back in the day when I was at school, mate, I turned up Tuesday, Thursday, play for the boys, play for the brothers. There was no contracts involved until, like you made New Zealand schools, still no contract. That's where you had to go, New Zealand schools, to launch yourself to like Wellington Academy and that. But now kids are getting picked up at 16, 17, and the professional game's probably getting younger and younger. But I reckon you can still get picked at a smaller school and as a school that's not recognisable, but it would be a lot harder. It'd be a lot harder. Yeah.
How old were you when you got selected as an apprentice for the Northern Tour? Were you 18? Barely 18?
Yeah, I was just about to turn 19, so I was 18. And turned 19, I think, on tour when I was on tour.
What was it like getting sort of put into that All Blacks environment with the likes of your McCaws, Reed, Carter, and the team? Was it quite overwhelming?
Yeah, like I was shitting my pants, bro. Like, yeah, like a teenager kid coming out of school, 1 year ITM, bro, and getting thrusted into that. But I was quite lucky, bro, because I had Jules there. So I had my older brother, bro. So like I kind of just fell into, like, I found like a hangout crew. It was always with Bus. Bus was always with Ma'a and Victor and Liam. So like that was the crew that like I just naturally hung out with, and obviously those boys took me under their wing and looked after me. So it wasn't too intimidating. Because if anything happened to me, then they had to deal with those guys. So I was pretty kind of well protected. But in terms of like being around like Richie and Kieran Reid, and Kevin Mialamu,
Right.
like you're just in awe, bro. Like, you're like, I watch these guys on TV and I'm training with these guys. I was even kicking myself like I was putting on the All Blacks training kit. Like, bro, it's like a dream come true. But it was kind of like a bittersweet moment because like I wasn't in the All Blacks team, but I was there, So, but I soaked it all up, bro. I was in awe, and because when I see people above me or leaders above me, I have a massive respect for them. So sometimes it's a jeopardy to me because like I hold people in such high regard that I'd lower myself. But yeah, those guys were awesome, mate. Like, and looking back to see them then, and then obviously playing with Kieran Reid in 2019,
Yeah. Yeah.
for game in the black jersey. Yes, yeah, like that journey is amazing, and to be able to play alongside him and build a good relationship with him was pretty special.
Was it at that point that you thought that rugby was a realistic pathway, or did you think that way when you made the ITM Cup team?
Yeah, I kind of, as a young fella, you believe media and you read it, and obviously first year ITM, I was playing well, and then it was all the articles are destined to be an All Black, and then so you kind of believe it. So I believed the hype, and it probably worked out well that I did because it allowed me to play well, and yeah, I think for me, mate, like once I made New Zealand Sevens straight out of school, that's when I thought to myself, okay, like rugby, this is serious, yeah. Like I'm getting paid for this. Maybe I can make something out of it. And obviously seeing Jules already paving the way and seeing that, like it was like, yeah, okay, this is where I head towards and try and navigate, yeah.
Let's chat about like your most recent All Blacks season and your experience like that. Like it was one like no other for obvious reasons around COVID-19, and for someone who's been away from home for the majority of this year and last year, I can also relate to a little bit to those difficulties and the complexities that COVID-19 brought upon everyone. How tough it was being away from home, how tough it was to travel. What sort of things did you guys do as a group to keep everyone fresh and keep everyone active?
Yeah, like it was quite like daunting and a lot of um like a lot of people were anxious leaving the country. Like we left New Zealand and it was on level 4, and it was us leaving our partners and our kids on level 4. So that was quite daunting for us. But mate, like looking back, it was probably the best thing that could ever happen. Blacks, yeah, for the All Blacks, we were in Perth lockdown for those 2 weeks, but we kind of like played cricket. We
Yeah,
organized like our team rooms into we had like obviously the analysis room, then like a hangout room where there was music, and then like the golf boys created like a little mini putt golf kind of course, and then you had like just the bean bags laying around, so it was just real like home feel. So we had that going on, and we had like an entertainment committee that would come up with like just fun ideas at the right times during the weeks where we'll come together as a team or optional and stuff like that. Like it was pretty awesome, man. Like it brought us closer in those 2 weeks and in Perth, and then it kind of just like flowed on from there where we just navigated the whole COVID situation. We weren't allowed to go out during the day or mix and mingle with people, go to restaurants. It was quite limited, the stuff that we did. So yeah, we just try to be innovative around that, bro. And to be honest, it was one of those tours like you didn't know what to expect. Like usually we knew like what was happening the next week, the week after. All we knew was we're going to be
of
in the
course.
city in terms of like what the hotel would be like, what our setup will be like, what the rules would be like. We just kind of adapted while we were there, bro. So yeah, it was pretty weird, pretty challenging, man. And I think as the tour went on, it was long, but overall, bro, it was pretty cool. Like the boys were closer than ever, and there were some funny as things some boys organised for us to keep us entertained.
Like what? What's an example?
Oh, mate, like I said, like Anton and the golf boys will come up with their mini like their mini putt thing. There was some like when we had nights like there was some beer pong
Yeah, nice.
and like peers were in pairs, and we had a competition throughout the whole team. Nights like those, like we had carver group, like a carver group where every week there'll be carver guys will go there and just connect, and like just little stuff like that, but it was pretty cool.
Who's who would you say the best roommate to have is on a tour like that, and the worst roommate? Like, did you have one consistent roommate the whole time?
Yeah, I roomed with a Safo or more, pretty much most of the tour, the like pretty much majority of the tour. I think the big thing with the tour was around like the boys kind of like had the option to ask who they would like to room with, or had like 2 or 3 names, just because it was a long tour. Ones of the boys to feel comfortable when they went to their rooms and feel like it was at home. So I spent it with ASAV or more. The rest, I wouldn't mind actually. I reckon the worst roomie is the ones that are messy.
Right.
Messy
Yeah.
as, yeah.
Where in America did you guys go, and did you guys get any time to like do touristy stuff over there? That's where I spend most of my
Yeah,
time.
we went to Washington DC.
Nice.
Um, we did like we went on a bus tour, like an open bus tour. We couldn't get out, but like we were allowed to walk late at night because obviously the city's quite quiet. So the boys like late after 8 p.m. would take the Lime scooters down and just look at all the monuments, go to the White House and whatnot. Not really like the freedom we had, but enough for us to go check out the sites and stuff like that.
So you didn't get to go to like an NBA game or a football game?
Nah, nah, bro. No NBA games, no football games. They initially wanted us to go to. I think the USA team was at a football game. They wanted the All Blacks there too, and go watch the training
Oh yeah, nice.
of the NFL boys. But we couldn't because of the COVID situation. So yeah, we had to stay in our own little bubble.
When were you first approached for the captaincy role at the All Blacks, and who approached you? Was it a possibility, or was it just out of the blue?
It kind of caught me off guard, bro. Like I wasn't expecting it at all. Like there are other guys in the team that are like I hold to a real high regard and have that I thought like were in front of me. Like it never crossed my mind. And yeah, Ian Foster, Fozzie pulled me aside and just dropped the bomb on me, and um, I was like shaking, bro. I was like, what the hell? Like kind
Drop
of
the
didn't
C
really
word on you.
sink in. And, yeah, just asked me. He wants me to, you know. So I obviously couldn't decline it. I was going to accept it and embrace the challenge. But I just remember going to my room and Saffa was there and let him know. But I just like literally sat down on my bed, bro, and just like froze for a bit and
Yeah,
just let it sink in. Text my wife, bro. I texted her going, "Hun," crying faces,
yeah,
and she was like, what's on?" And she was like, I was like, "Hun, I'm Skip,"
yeah.
and she was like, "Get the F out of here. You're pulling me, like you're pulling my finger." Then, nah. So that was cool, and then told mum and dad and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened, bro. Caught me off guard, wasn't expecting it. But yeah, it was pretty special moment, bro. Probably one of my highlights in my career so far.
Did it change your perception of the black jersey at all? Like, did it change the way that you approached games? Obviously, your preparation would have been elevated a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, bro. Like, I learned so much, man. Because before, like I was a leader in the team, but before I got named Skip, like I wasn't involved in any like the conversations you have in the background around
Right.
prepping the team, the week, the messages, um, like like all the little that stuff. And I had never been involved in that. And then obviously you may skip, like I had to drive those, so and I had no idea what to drive. Like I wasn't involved in any, so I had to reach out to the lads that were at home around like what to expect, like what are the good things to be aware of. And but I was so grateful that I had Brody and um, Baz and TJ, Cody, Anton um, around me in that leadership group, like especially Baz and Guz. Like I linked on them so much, bro. Like, and they were awesome. In terms of my game, man, like the prep changed in terms of like the start of the week, making sure the team and everyone's functioning. And then later in the week, I was able to just switch in and make sure I nailed my stuff. And that's different when I'm not skip, because when I'm not skip, like you just worry about yourself from Monday to Saturday and making sure you get yourself right. Where when you're a leader and you're the main leader, you're making sure everything's run smoothly. Like, that whole mind and preparation changes. Looking back, bro, the first week, like I reckon I drained a lot of energy around that mentally. After that, man, like I embraced it and enjoyed it. And I think I only enjoyed it because the other leaders around me allowed me just to be myself, and they took on responsibility as well.
That's awesome. So you weren't overwhelmed, and did you feel the pressure at the start, or were you just like, hey, I got to where I am now just for being myself. I'm just going to carry on doing that.
Yeah, I was more overwhelmed the fact that I didn't know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, these messages, like the back seat, and that, like they had their little conversations around like what messages to drive, and like these these meetings of game drivers. But I was never involved in any of those before I got named Skip, and then all of a sudden I have to, and I didn't know what to do. So I had to seek a bit of advice around that, and yeah. But once I got kind of the drift of it, it just became all good. So yeah, massive learnings for me, bro. Like I'm so grateful for the opportunity to represent my country. But I thought that I learned a lot about myself as a leader and as a player, bro. Like it was pretty special.
Like what? Like what was something that surprised you about what was involved with being the captain, or what was one thing that you actually learned about yourself?
Bro, like just you overthink things. Like you, you go to training and like potentially some lads will be like laughing like while warming up, and in your mind you're like, shit, these guys focused, these guys ready to train, or like when you're training, boys are dropping the ball or something, you like start to overthink, oh shit, is that training? Whereas if I was in skip, I wouldn't have noticed any of those things. But because you're just trying to make sure the team's functioning well and prepping well, you start to pick up those little things that's unnecessary, but you just do because that's just the nature of it. So that's what I kind of picked up on that, and learned a lot around the on-field stuff and game management. Thank you. Game management and stuff. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I've always wondered like what the team process was like. Like let's say you've just had a try scored against you, and you're under the post, or you're all huddled up, and everyone's talking, or everyone seems to be listening or talking. What is the discussion about? Is it about moving forward, and who pipes up? Was it you as a captain, or was it leadership group?
Yeah, leadership group. If it's got to do with like game plan and stuff, like your drivers will usually drive that. Your teams and who is driving that, or it's usually the main voices was either myself, Bears, Brody, or the other leaders. But usually you'd get like just two messages, because once you start going over two messages, like just too many messages, you just want to talk around the critical few. But usually it's like if we're under the posts and it's through like discipline, we'll just address like the reason why we're here is because we're giving penalties away. So we just need to be more disciplined. And then it would be like next focus task. So it'd just be like, all right, our next job, and then go to the driver and he'll be like, oh, okay, we're going to kick this. This is what we're going to do. And like, sweet. So we just know our next task. Pretty simple, bro.
Right, right. What does, let's stay on the Northern Tour over there. What does a weekly preparation look like day to day? Let's say leading up to that last French test, how did that week look?
Yeah, so Mondays, usually like our weeks like build so that like we peak on game day. So Mondays usually like clarity day, bro. So we're hardly on our feet. So we like do gym in the morning and then clarity in the afternoon. Just getting our role clarity done, and then
What does that mean? What does the clarity mean?
role clarity is just like obviously you have game structures, game plans, and then you have like individual roles within those game plans. that you need a nail. So we just go over new moves or plays. So for us, that's just like for Lucy, there's a new play and involves us, then we walk through it. It's called like having clarity, and then obviously you've gone through there, and then do your homework, and then come Tuesday, it's, in the morning, it's like a more like the intensity is like uplifted. It's like pretty good intensity, and that's like more like intensified training session, but still clarity kind of thing. It's like doing clarity at a faster pace. And that's just like getting used to the plays, like a defense, throwing in the Arvos, like upper body gym session, Wednesday, day off. And then Thursday's like kind of like the big day, like the day where like there's no clarity, like you've done all your role clarity and you're just practicing now like with instinct on Thursdays.
So before that, when's the first time you start looking at the opposition?
No, we look at the opposition on Sunday, Monday. Like
Right.
boys just at night. Like if we're on camp now, boys will be on the laptops just like looking through, and some people do analysis on their opposition players or like how they attack off a line out, attack off a scrum, just to like see the picture so they know what to expect. Like little things like that, bro. It's not like a set kind of thing. But it's like individual players just go do what they need to do.
Like for you specifically, like this sort of talk about that, the freshest test, like the French game.
Yeah.
What sort of things were you looking at leading up into that game?
Yeah, bro. So like for me, like my process is, I'll go look at like how they attack off a line out, because obviously as a Lucy, we kind of like we chew up that kind of line out transition stuff. So like you see certain plays off a 7-man line out, 6-man, 5-man, and you just look at what they do and read the cues, what we could potentially expect, and then how we're going to D from it. So I'll just look at that stuff, look at Scrum D, and then just have a look at a few clips on how they really attack, really, and then that's probably enough for me, because if I overcomplicate it, then I clutter my mind. So that's what I kind of in the French test just did, and then the rest of it was just making sure I nailed my own shit.
Awesome. So Thursday.
Yeah. Thursday is like a Thursday morning is like another kind of like sharpen a clarity kind of thing. And then straight into like a power gym session, just like speed, quick, and then have an afternoon, like a midday break, lunch, and then Thursday Arvo is like the kind of like game intensity training. Like it's like you're blowing. It's like harder than a game without the contact. And then we're just doing that training, but like the whole point of it is actually training things at a higher speed than a game, and trying to practice your mindset to train like that, make decisions, and just play with instinct. Like you've done your whole role clarity. You don't have to think. It's just like second nature to you. So we have that. It's like real quite short and sharp, but it's hard. And then finish Thursday, wind down, and then Friday is just like the morning off for commercials on Friday, and then just captain's run, bro. So captain's run on Friday, real low key, and then rest, and then just wait till kick off on Saturday.
So is it during that captain's run, or is it a lot earlier in the week when you start talking about what you're going to expect specifically? Like they're known for their rush defense, the outside in defense and stuff. Were you training as a team the whole week for that?
Yeah, it's early in the week. We have like structures in place on how we do that, and that happens in the week, and it happens in little conversations between players, the necessary players, bro.
Did the French or the Irish, did they surprise you guys at all, or was everything thrown at you guys like expected?
Yeah. Well, what no surprises. We know every team's going to turn up against the All Blacks. Like, there's no surprise. Just the fact that they came with that ferocious intensity, like that, like, you know, we knew that was coming, but like for us, like to be able to, like, obviously, you know, against the Irish, we're up at halftime. Like we weathered this. People forget that, and it wasn't until second half that's when it went all pear shaped. So, like, yeah, it's just dealing with pressure and how we navigate that space and playing in Northern Hemisphere stadiums and teams. They play a different style to what we're kind of used to playing, but that's just a testament to them, mate. They're growing, they're getting better. Yeah, and that's good for us, bro, because we know what we can improve on and get better in, and know that once we stop those Northern Hemisphere teams get into that kind of game, then hopefully we can be better.
Yeah, that's great insight. Taking you on the field now, you know, as one of the main contenders of the ruck, how do you make and differentiate, you know, that split second decision on whether you're going to commit to it or whether you're going to join the line defense instead? And does that change if you know, you know, a certain loose forward is playing or not playing?
Nah, not really, bro. Like for my mindset, it's funny when people tell the team not to like hunt or jackal, because I think it's just embedded in the Lucy's like genetics to look for those opportunities. I think the older and the more experience you get is that you learn to pick your moments. Like you wouldn't go every ruck because then you just waste yourself. It's picking the right ones, and it's hard to tell. Like, you know, it's really hard. Like I think it's like tit for tat. Um, and for me, like obviously, if there's someone's cleaning over the ball, you're not going to go there. Obvious. But there's different pictures that I look for as a Lucy that I would go and jackal, and ones where I just go fold around the corner.
What would be a good scenario that you would actually jackal?
If their ball carrier is isolated and their cleaners are slow, you know, like if there's daylight there and and you're going to win that space there, then obviously you would decide to go. Not necessarily mean you'll win it because you smash back, but yeah, that's one of the scenarios or pictures that I look for.
Are you constantly sort of changing, or are you on the edge of you know what's allowed and what's disallowed, and are you using that sort of that first part of the game to sort of like figure out what the ref is like, well, you know
Yeah,
what his limit is?
100%. Like, you know, Lucy's cheap, and you know, you test the ref, like you test the ref, and you kind of get a gauge too on how they ref in previous games around the breakdown. So you kind of get a gauge, but you know, on the day, like, you know, you just read it. Like if your opposition's getting away with what they're getting away, then you do it. Like, you know, don't complain, you do the same. So it's just around that. It's just being smart around that, mate, around the breakdown. Sometimes it gets frustrating, mate, because you know, like it's hard. I feel sorry for refs because it's such a hard game to ref, you know. Um, yeah, so yeah.
I had Ben O'Keefe on, you know, probably 2 months ago now, and it was really good to get an insight about, you know, what he looks for and his sort of processes that he goes through. You know, let's say that we've got the ball now, we're hot on attack. Who's the best loose forward that you've come up against that you're like, shit, I got to get to this ruck and make it safe for the boys like pretty quick, or else we're going to lose it. Is it Hooper?
Um, like to clean out when I'm cleaning.
Yeah,
Um, a player, shucks. Um,
like you know, Pocock and Hooper were pretty formidable together, weren't
yeah,
they?
Pocock because he was good over the ball. And probably like a few of the South African brothers,
Right.
like Remulan and Malcolm Marx. They're good over the ball, bro. They're strong boys. But like with every team, like we always drive that breakdown area because that's one of the main components in rugby is looking after that, so that your attack, you know, you can play attacking footy. If you don't nail that, your stuff. But yeah, mainly like when Pocock was playing, he was pretty pretty frank. Like, I think all Lucy's, like all teams have Lucy's in their team, or and some forwards and even backs that are great over the ball. So
Who's the best like international team to share a beer with after a tough game?
a lot of respect with New Zealand and South Africa.
Right.
Right.
Okay, let's go sort of away from the field now for a bit. You're big
Yeah,
into fashion. How did you start your own clothing line, and
yeah,
how's that going for you?
yeah, bro. Like I wouldn't say I'm big. I was big in fashion like a few years ago.
Yeah,
But yeah, so that's why I kind of started it. Like, I was into the Yeezy Kanye West's brand and the Daniel Patrick's and all that. And, I thought I'd start something and thought like, yeah, it'll be a great idea to start a clothing brand. And because I'm a rugby player, people will buy it, etc. So started it, and then like it did all good. And it went for a year, and then kind of like lost the passion for it. I was like, there's no really reason why I started. It was more to just be cool.
yeah, yeah,
And then I like, with my rugby career and the journey of life, mate, like I found that like I guess helping people and putting smiles on people's faces, encouraging people, I found like a what's it called? Like I found the heart like for that. Like I really enjoyed doing that. So I was just like, oh, how can I do that and still do my clothing business because it was still going well. And then I just incorporated the two together around spreading messages through clothing and well-being messages and encouragements. And so that happened around 2018.
right.
So a year after 2018 and 2019. A year after I launched ASAV clothing, and then ever since that, bro, it's been going well, really well. It's my wife, Sash, she runs the whole business. She's the backbone of it. I'm just a kind of like creative designer, like the content dude, and then she just logistical. She gets things done. But yeah, that was where I started my clothing, and it wasn't necessarily like starting a clothing brand, bro. Like it was more for me, like I just wanted to be my own boss
Yeah,
and not work a 9 to 5 or try something where I don't have to. And I was just blessed that I had rugby as a vehicle to be able to invest or kind of put money into that and be comfortable if I lost it or the business went down, like I'd be okay. And that was kind of one of the blessings I had, having rugby as my job. It gave me a bit of income to be able to dip my toes into business. But yeah, we're here now and launching, and yeah, people are vibing with it and relating to the messages. So it's been going all good so far.
So moving on to men's mental health and its sort of role within rugby, and as professional athletes being sort of cast as role models these days. What kind of like mental
Yeah.
health training have you guys been put through, or to deal with the pressures of being a professional rugby player and an All Black, like both on and off the field?
Yeah, I think it's like only in the last year or two, like it's been made aware and made something that needs to be an important kind of role in rugby. Obviously, rugby's got that typical, like we're grunty and we're tough and but yeah, it's not until the last year or two where we're kind of, a couple of years actually. It's become like a real big awareness thing, and I think that's because of society, and society's become more aware of it. So like we do have some like mental health kind of trainings, but to be honest, bro, most of it's like organic. Like most of it's like lads chatting to each other through what they've experienced, how they got through it, and kind of just picking up tools from each other pretty much. And it's yeah, and obviously we got like the mental health, all the mental skills around like performance and how we deal with pressure. A lot of that stuff can be transferable into life. So there's a lot of like resources around for us. But I believe, bro, like the well-being and the health, mental health kind of, I wouldn't say training, but it's more so the around us boys connecting together and just sharing.
What does that look like? Is it all about switching off from social media sometimes and just sort of, opening up to teammates and just sort of making yourself vulnerable?
Yeah, it's hard, mate, because like even myself, like like or like off the social media stuff, like um we're working in ways as teams on how we can limit like hate speech, like I know with Instagram, like you can put in words on your post, so if people say those words, they immediately get blocked. um but yeah, some guys, like for me, like I if we've lost the game, bro, I won't even jump on social media or read comments, because I just know it's just negative. But you just got to be, boys just need to be smart around it. But it's hard, man. Like, you're on social and it is what it is. But we know, like, if there's someone we know that's like getting bagged or like they didn't play too well, or like the boys will go and make sure they're okay. Like, you're good, bro. Like, how's things, and and if they say they're all good, they're all good. If they don't, then like we just have a chat about it.
I think like coming like I'm from quite a small farming town like Southland. It's quite a conservative
Yeah,
place to grow up and sort of be part of a sports team. If you are different or if you are having a tough time, with your performances or anything, it's almost like an old boys network. Do you believe like the grassroots rugby side of things is actually becoming more supportive for individuals and sort of more inclusive for people?
yeah, 100%. Of where I am, it is. But I know there's some parts in New Zealand that's probably not like that. Like, um, but for me, like, I think it's more like it's not even just a rugby thing, bro. Like,
Yeah.
society's becoming more aware and acceptable around it. And when society and communities are like that, it just transfers into grassroots. Like, if that makes sense. And man, we've got the highest men's suicide rate in the world. Like, yeah, it's just like, it's so sad. And I think that's kind of like put a light bulb with so many people around there, that like our men are struggling in silence, and we got to create safe environments and safe spaces around that. And um, I think it's a balance between, like, in that grassroots, around being hard and being like the tough guy 24/7, and shut up and, like, suck it up, and stuff like that. Like, I get it as well, because it's rugby. But then you just got to be careful of who you say that to, because some people just suffer in silence, and if that makes sense. So it's a tricky one, bro. But I still believe I believe in grassroots, but it's getting better, and people are more aware.
It's almost like, you're talking with a friendship group or, just you're in the change rooms and stuff. It's almost like people have their own shields up and half of the struggle is actually to get over that shield and just like, just become vulnerable.
Yeah, bro. Like, people say please talk, or talk if you're something going on, but it's harder than it's easy to say. It's so hard
Yeah.
to do. Like this, like sometimes I like encourage to talk, like people to talk, but I don't. So I'm
Yeah.
being it's like being a hypocrite. Um, but like my biggest question, like I learned from Mike King, and that is like my biggest question is people that say, "Please talk. We want you to talk."
Mm,
The question goes on to those people is, are we creating safe spaces for people to talk?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
people ain't gonna talk to you if, like, you start saying, "Oh, he's such a pussy for showing his emotions," like, around people, and so that person automatically says, "Okay, I'm not going to share any emotion with you." So the question is around, are we as people creating safe spaces and a comfortable environment for people to actually be themselves and share? There's
It's
one
almost,
thing saying to talk, yeah,
it's almost like, when someone does build up that courage to talk and sort of open up to mates on whether that, whether it's relationship issues or, personal issues or just whatever's going on. You, as a listener, it takes quite a skill as well to like, shit, how do I
Yeah,
react to this? And like, how do I,
yeah,
how do I
bro.
deal with this?
100%, bro. And it is, yeah. There's no right or wrong answer, man. It's like you say, like some people just want you to listen and not say anything. Some people want you to give the best advice. Some people want other things. So um, yeah, it is a skill, mate. I don't have the answers, um, but all I know is that like as long as my heart's in the right place and I just want them, and they know that, I think anything you do, they would appreciate. You know.
That's massive, bro. Last couple of questions. Like, what do you think of the
All good, bro.
most recent eligibility changes?
Yeah,
Do you see yourself fronting up for Samoa?
bro. Like I've been in the headlines the last couple of days around representing Samoa. But one thing they always forget to put in is when I say I would love to represent Samoa one day,
Yeah, yeah,
they always
exactly.
miss out the one day.
Yeah,
So people automatically think that I'm going to switch, but people don't realize the stand down rules 3 years.
right.
Such a long time. So um, yeah, so I think it's awesome, mate. Like I think it's about time, and it's one step in the right direction. I think there's still a lot of movement and work to go, but mate, it's going to be massive for nations, especially the Pacific Island nations. I think it's going to be massive. Just to see that, and a lot of people say like it devalues like the jerseys and it's like bad for international rugby that players can just switch. But like if you really think about it, and people think about it, is like if those guys like the Ngani Laumapes, the Lima Sopuangas, the Malakai Fikitoas, they go play the Tonga, it doesn't devalue Tonga's jersey.
No.
It increases it by a lot. And when you've got players that go and play for the Tongan jersey that got high profiles, what that brings in is it brings eyes, it brings attention. And when you bring attention, it brings sponsorship and commercial deals. And obviously those commercial deals bring in money. And what that money can do is that it can just be filtered down to grassroots. So like, like there's a deeper route to this eligibility rule being open, because players that have like established really well names and are people favorite and crowds love them, they're starting to play for these island nations, and there's just this financial gain there, and they can just filter down to grassroots in those island nations and hopefully build academies and obviously get the right system in place and then start to build the island players in Tonga to be the best instead of the players having to go to New Zealand, Australia, England to get that coaching or get to that skill. So I think it's awesome, mate, and I think it's amazing. I'm just really excited to see where it goes and who puts on the island jerseys, though.
Are you excited about fronting up against the Pacific Island Super Rugby teams next year?
Yeah, bro, it's gonna be awesome, mate. It's gonna be interesting, mate. Like the Fijian brothers, mate, they're the hardest people to play against. Like from 1 to 15, they're all quick, powerful, strong. Yeah, they're pretty scary, bro. So no, I can't wait, man. I can't wait to play against the Island Brothers.
You're looking forward to hopefully a couple months off now, but just sort of skipping ahead to February. What should we expect from a new look Hurricanes team? Is a title shot a realistic ambition?
Yeah, 100%. I think any team in the Super Rugby Pacific that's a tighter shot contention. But yeah, what to expect, mate? I think to just expect um, Hurricanes rugby and whatever that looks like. And yeah, like it's hard to say now, mate, because I've just finished the All Blacks, so I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But just I think the potential of the All Blacks Canes coming back, but then also the potential of a lot of the young guys and the middle guys that are in that team. We've got some talent, man. Like that I don't think the world's seen yet on a consistent level. So there's going to be some rising stars that will kind of rise, and people will start seeing who they are.
Right, that's an exciting point to finish it on, Ardie. I really appreciate your time chatting.
All good, brother.
I've followed you guys for a long time now. Big footy fans. So all the best for this upcoming season,
Thank you,
and I hope you have a good Christmas, New Year's with family.
Cheers, much love, bro.
Cheers, bro. Catch you.